quality abstract for conferences. And our speakers are they've done that, they've achieved that, they've actually written quite a lot of abstract and they have experience with abstract writing for conferences. And as you know, on this channel, we bring people that have that experience to share with their fellow colleagues of their early career researcher based on what they've learned. So today we are going to be talking about how to write abstract and also insight on how to write scholarship essays for conferences. So you'll be learning from fellow early career researchers, advocates, tips, and useful insights. And all of them, they are ready for us to share their insights, to share what they've learned, and also to contribute to your own capacity. So we are going to make it highly chatty in the sense that I'm going to be moderating the session to ask useful questions that I know that early career researcher really want to know when it comes to abstract writing. And I will also double as a speaker, but just to coordinate things, we'll be sharing all sort of things that you need to know about abstract writing. And our speaker, we have Isaac Wukola, we have Linda Joseph, and we have Norma, and we also have Doreen. She's likely to join us later. And myself. So we are excited, and I know you're also excited to share your own insights. Please, if you are watching us, kindly let us know where you are watching us from by saying hello or something in the chat box. So we are going to start in the next 2 minutes. Let's wait for more people to join us. We have a number of people watching us already, but let's wait. While we do that, I think we should just do some round of introduction. My name is Yusuff Adebisi. I'm currently a PhD researcher at the University of Glasgow, and I'm also the lead researcher at Global Health Focus. Isaac, can you give us a concise introduction?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Isaac, and then I'm a master's student at the University of Oxford. Yeah, over to you, Norman.
Hi everyone, my name is Norman. I'm a researcher at the Center of Excellence for Infectious Diseases and AIDS at the University of Malaya, Malaysia.
Here, Joseph.
Hi everyone, I'm Linda Joseph Roberts, the International AIDS Society Organizing Committee member for next year's conference that will be in Kigali, Rwanda. Nice to meet you.
Thank you very much for that brief introduction. So we'll be starting in the next, let's say, 3 minutes. Welcome, Triple A. Welcome, Arama. Welcome, Nafisa. Welcome, Oreolua. So we have about 15 people watching us now. Uh, let's wait for more people to join us. So if you are looking for an opportunity to learn, I mean, this is not um, a theory lecture or something that is unreal. So they will share real practical example from their own experience as early career researcher, and all of them here they've received funding and they've presented in high, I mean, top-notch conferences globally, not one, not two. So they are happy to share their experience with you and useful tips that will actually be useful to you as an early career researcher. So let's wait for another um, 2 minutes because I don't want you to miss anything. So we're going to be starting the next 2 minutes. We are not going to be waiting. And thank you very much once again, our speaker, for making our time to do this.
Adebisi, perhaps while waiting for folks to come in,
Yep.
those who are already online,
Yep.
I wonder if they could perhaps drop a few sentences as to why they've joined in today or what attracted them to the webinar, so as to give us sort of like a, let's say,
Yes,
goal or
please.
like an objective or something, that so that we understand where people's learning needs are, and we can tailor our content to what people like to learn.
Yeah, I think here we have diverse people from, like, in terms of their knowledge about abstract writing. So if you have any question or you have things that you really want to learn from this session, please kindly drop them in the chat box, as Norma said. So it will be useful to us to guide this discussion and also to know how detailed the discussion is going to be. But overall, we have diverse people here, and I think they are all excited to learn one or two things. But if you have any specific thing that you really want to know and you have any question about writing abstract for conferences, please kindly drop them in the chat box. Our speakers are they are happy to share knowledge and insights and their insight on how to actually write a very good abstract that will be acceptable for presentation uh, I in a top conference. So, and thank you to Global Health Focus. This is actually part of what we do to contribute to capacity building of early career researcher. So this session is actually co-hosted by um, Global Health Focus. So I think we should just get right into it. Uh, all our speakers are ready and they are happy to share their knowledge. So it's be good if we have our videos on. Um, okay, so let's get right into it. So I will start by asking that why is it important for early career researchers to present their research in a conference? Why is it really important for them to present their abstract in a conference? Isaac, would you like to share some insight on that? Why it is really, really important, and some of your practical experience, why it is actually important for early career researcher to present in a conference?
Yeah, thank you so much, Yusuf, for that question. Yeah, I think basically, when you do a research, one of the things you want that research to do is to get the attention of the scientific community, because I don't think there's a researcher, either early career, mid career, or oldies, will do any research and then let it sit on their shelf for them to read alone. So I think one of the key importance of you doing a research is dissemination. You need to get your work out there for people to see, to learn from it, and also not just to learn from it, you can also get some insight from experts in the field who can contribute to how you could improve such studies further. So yeah, and then as an early career researcher, one of the ways in which you can disseminate your findings, your research in from your local context is by, sharing them in those conferences, presenting them. And this is in turn like helping your communication skills as a researcher, because we have a lot of research work published across different journals, but when we look at the impact they are making, it is minimal because people don't get to understand what those research projects are on. And also like the policymakers don't know that even they don't have an idea that such research addressing such important problem in their society have been worked on or published somewhere. So when you go to these conferences, you have the opportunity to meet policymakers, meet co-researchers, and share your findings with them. See how you can scale up such research, or make some policy change in your country. So I think that is just a key thing for presenting your work in such conferences is dissemination. You showing people your findings, what your research have been able to substantiate in your country or in your community. Yeah. So I don't know if any of my other speakers will want to add. Norman, Linda, and yeah, we have Doreen. Yeah.
Finally. Yeah, thank you very much, Isaac. I mean, that's insightful. One of the reasons why you actually want to present in a conference is to disseminate your findings and also to receive feedback on your work and to communicate your research to a wide range of audience. So, as early career researcher, it's always good for you to share your science, to share your findings with diverse population, so that you can receive feedback. You can also learn through the process, and at the same time, you can even get collaboration or other means of improving your work and the kind of research that you do. So that means that it's always important for early career researchers to look forward to opportunity uh, to share the result of their research and insight from their studies, so that it will benefit more people and more people will be able to see what you have been doing. So thank you very much, Isaac, for that. Norma, do you have anything you also want to add on why early career researchers should present in a conference?
What I had in mind really isn't necessarily related to early career researchers, but just researchers in general. But I think specifically in the HIV field or IS related conferences, what's unique about the abstracts is that it consists of the research side and also the lessons learned type of submission. Um, I think what Isaac has mentioned and what you have mentioned earlier on, that that is really true. The essence of submitting abstracts and getting the science out is really a good practice of science. Don't want science to just live in its own shell. You don't want to be working in silos. You want to make sure that what you do gets replicable, gets tested in different contexts, and ultimately for the betterment of everybody. But I think I'm also thinking on the side of people who not don't necessarily identify as researchers, people who are doing matters on the a lot of good work on the grassroots level, that I think Linda and Doreen could really chime in more, because a lot of individuals um, who may not create content or do the work in a very scientific way, they do great work too. Um, and and oftentimes I think what's important for everybody is to have diversity of perspective. Um, and perhaps there are ways that both people who identify as researchers and people perhaps who are not, who don't identify as researchers or scientists, to kind of learn from each other. I think this would be really a nice platform for different people to learn from each other, and also networking for sure. I've met so many new people just out of presenting posters. You'll meet so many people, especially neighbors. If you present posters, you talk to your neighbors, they become lifelong friends after that. Trust me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Norma, for that perspective. I mean, presenting in conferences is not only for scientists. There's some conferences that allow you to present your project. Let's say you've done a community project or you've done something impactful in a particular field. There's some conferences that allow you to come and present and share your findings. Doreen, would you like to share more insight on that? Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you so much, Yusuff. So hi, everyone. My name is Doreen Moracha. I am not a scientist or a researcher, but I would love to be one. So as Norman has said, conferences are not just about the aspect of presenting work and all that. It's also your chance to grow as well. It's also your chance to have fun, because I think we also kind of focus a lot on you learned and learned. Yes, we are there to learn, but we're also there to have fun. You're also there to get to know other people who it's not necessarily. I know a lot of us look at conferences by the bigger people in the room, like a minister is here, this global person is here. So you're there to kind of meet them one-on-one. But also we have peers who we can also learn from. And get to show them the work that we do back home, probably some of them are even in your country and you don't know, as Norman has said, that some of them are in your country. You don't know them, you don't know the work that they do, but they are literally in your country. So looking at conferences sometimes, they can also be overwhelming for you as a person because there is a lot. There are so many things happening at the same time. You want to get all that information at the same time. So you also need to calm down a little bit when you're at a conference. Go there, present your work, present yourself, but also relax. because sometimes you'll want to be in 5 sessions at the same time. All of them are of your interest. All of them are making sense to you, but you can't learn everything. Besides conferences such as the International AIDS Society conferences, they usually upload their content I think it's like a month or so after the conference, they do upload their material. So that session you missed, you're still going to catch up with it. So that's also another thing. So apart from just doing your work, you can also get to learn on how to better that work. But also remember, you are an expert in whatever field you are working on. So you are there on merit, and it's not just about other people, because I think most times when people are attending conferences, we center them around other people and how those people are going to impact us. But remember, you are also part of the other people, and you're going to impact these people in one way or another.
Thank you, Doreen, for that. Linda, would you like to share insights as someone on the conference board? Um, do you want to share insights on why you think attending conference for researchers, for advocates, why it's actually very, very important? Thank you.
Thank you, Yusuff, and thank you to the previous speaker, Doreen. Just as she has just highlighted it, that you will discover that during these conferences, a lot of information is being shared here and there, but sometimes you find people attending conferences or sessions on that they already know much about, and then leaving out sessions that they know less about. I always tell people it is always best to attend conferences where you know less, such that you can better up, such that you become more informed in that field, such that you do not stay creme de la creme in that specific area where you already know, but at least you get to know something else that is new in your life, because in one way or the other, it will impact your advocacy journey. It will impact your work, and you will also be able to learn and relearn from those sessions that you feel like you know less. That should always be a key aspect. But to take you back to the abstract part of it, we all know that an abstract is just a summary. So number one role of an abstract to any person planning to write it out there, just know its importance is to summarize your work in the simplest way possible. You will find that your concept note for this activity or for this research was almost a very big book, but here we are coming with an abstract whereby you have to tell us what you've been doing in just one page, so that you will discover that it summarizes your work. It creates room for learning and unlearning, because as you're sharing these abstracts, you're talking to other people who may be implementing something similar or something related to what you are doing, and it helps you better up. It helps you relearn from them. It helps you share with one another the challenges and how to overcome the lessons. Or maybe other people may look at your abstract and would really want to implement or impact the societies with your similar activity back in their home areas. So you'll discover that writing an abstract is key in this journey. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Linda. You tried to talk about what abstract is. I think we should have done that first. So abstract, if you are new to writing abstract is just a concise piece of writing that gives overview of what you've done. It can be a research, it can be a book, it can be an article in a scientific journal. But here we are going to be focusing on how to write abstract for conference. So in short, it's just a concise piece of writing just within 250, 300 words, depending on the conference. So, and that brings me to this next question. If I want to present as an early career researcher or an advocate, I want to submit my abstract to a conference. What is the first thing? What is the first thing that I need to actually check? I need to know before I even decide to submit my abstract to a conference. Isaac, we'll be happy to share insight on that.
Yeah, I can give it a try. Basically, we have different fields that we are working in. It could be HIV, it could be TB. Okay, TB and HIV are kind of related. Let me go in a separate. It could be like lung cancer. it could be like cancer generally. So there are different fields of study of implementing projects, right? So it could be malaria, right? So one of the key things you want to look out for is to identify conferences that align with what you are doing. You can't come up, you can't be a researcher in, let's say, malaria field, and then probably submit such abstract for the highest conference, for example, unless you've been able to find a kind of unique intersection between malaria and HIV that you want to share with us. So one of the first key things you want to do is to like get a conference that aligns with your research field. So, and there are a lot of conferences in different field, in diverse fields. So don't think it is more skewed to one side than the other. So you just have to like do the findings, look at look up opportunities on Google, or look at professional bodies in that field of yours, maybe some malaria consortium or whatever. You could see a lot of opportunities and conferences or workshops where you can share your findings. And so coming back to our, don't let me use our field, coming back to the field of HIV, yeah, so there are a lot of conferences that you could explore in terms of HIV conferences if you are doing research or projects relating to HIV. And the biggest one that I know of is the IAS. I don't know if there's any other bigger conference in HIV that come close to IAS. So that is the biggest one. And so if you have been able to identify that particular conference that align with your interest, I think another thing you will want to do is to check the conference website. Most conferences usually have a website, and on that website you see some specific guidelines on how your abstract should look like in terms of the word count, in terms of word count, in terms of align tables or figures, depending on the preference of the conference. And also, you know, the submission processes. Some may say they want you to email your abstract to so email. Some have some portal where you can upload such email in maybe document or PDF format. Some have some sort of form where you need to like copy it from your document and paste it there. So you need to like understand and look out for those instructions on the conference website. And then I know of IAS, some conferences usually also host a lot of webinars to like inform people better on how they could submit a winning, in quote, winning abstract. So you may want to take such opportunities and utilize them to your own benefits. Like look, watch, following those webinars to know how to tailor your abstract to fit into what the conference actually wants. So so I think that those are just the basic things you need to consider when you are thinking of submitting an abstract to any conference of your choice. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Isaac. I mean, one thing that is very, very important is for you, as he said, you need to check the website to know the structure. You don't just assume structure. When it comes to scientific writing, there's always a guideline somewhere on what they want your abstract to look like, how they want you to structure it. And of course, you cannot submit an abstract that is not related to the theme of the discussion. As Isaac said, if a conference is focused on HIV and you are submitting, like let's say, an abstract on cancer, unless if there's a link between HIV and cancer that you want to bring on board or that you've done the research on. So make sure that you read and understand the scope of the conference, you understand what they want, and you understand the kind of discussion that is going to take place in the conference. So it's very, very important that you read the website and you understand the structure. Some conference, they want you to label the results as key findings. Some will say you should call the conclusion. Maybe they don't have conclusion. They have conclusion as maybe implication for policy and practice. So you always need to check the guideline to know the structure and what they actually want from you whenever you want to write any abstract. Thank you very much, Isaac, for sharing that insight. So I'll go to Norma to give us insight on how do you decide on the kind of topic that you think is going to be competitive enough for acceptance in a conference. So this is, I'm talking in the line of a scientific abstract now. So how do you know that this topic is going to be of interest and is going to be competitive enough for you to gain or get accepted for presentation in a talk conference?
Thank you for that question. So I've been on the side of a presenter and also a reviewer of abstracts um, for various conferences. And I would say before diving into the logistics and the nuts and bolts of submitting an abstract, it's essential to know that you have the actual work to submit before going into like what's the word count, what's the format, what's who to submit it to. Um, and I think there are perhaps two different groups of people when it comes to submissions. One would be people who have like a lot of work and they just don't know which one to submit of all the work that they have. And also people who are the on a different end of that spectrum, people who don't really have that much work or rather solid work to submit. So I think um, so I'm often on the side of people who have difficulties figuring out what piece to submit from my work because I have several work ongoing that can be submitted. So I think I'll speak from my experience first and also from my experience reviewing abstracts that I think would be from for folks who are on the other end of the spectrum. So people who have perhaps a lot of work, who are very active in doing the science and doing the work in their fields. Um, I would often think about an expiry date of the work that you do. Um, is it is this work time sensitive? Meaning to say, if this does not get presented within the next 6 months, will it lose its relevance? And if it's a yes, if you think that is a yes, then most likely that is the work that you want to submit or you want to get it across as soon as possible. Second, um, if you think that you have so many different work, different pieces of your work that can be crafted into an abstract, um, sometimes it can be too large. So figure out how to cut it into bite pieces because sometimes it's just too much. You don't need your entire work to be presented. You just need some of those bite pieces to be presented. So identifying what is the dose of that work that you want to submit, considering whether it's relevant and time sensitive. Um, and third would be to look at its fit for the conference or for the tract that you are submitting to at the very least. So for IAS conferences, typically you'll be able to find a home for your work because it's so broad. The HRV field really cuts through so many different fields, and you can always find a home for your work. But occasionally for IS conferences that are that is happening next year, and also um, the one that's not AIDS, the one that's not very conference, very community centered, they are more rigorous on the science. So if you think that your work may not be so super sciencey, perhaps consider submitting the following year when it's more community focused, when it has a different vibe or different vision. Um, so by figuring out what the vision of that conference is and seeing whether that work fits in that in the vision of that conference is also important. That's one group of people. I might be taking a lot of time, but like so this is people who probably have like 50 million work that can potentially be submitted. But there's also this side of people where they don't really have that much work. And and I've seen in my experience reviewing abstracts, there are people who submitted opinion pieces, for scientific research, for scientific abstracts. So imagine like an introduction, a method, results. How would like an opinion piece fit in that type of format? It doesn't, right? It doesn't make sense at all. There are also people who submitted, let's say, a conceptualization type of abstract. Let's say they've conceptualized an idea and they want to present this. But the format is, again, introduction, methods, findings, and then conclusion. How would a conceptualization piece type of work would fit in that type of conference? So if you're thinking of perhaps an idea or like an opinion piece, conference submissions or abstract submissions for conferences may not be a good fit for it, unless perhaps you could find conferences that are more focused on the social sciences. I'm not from the social science side. I can be, I can dabble into it, but my experience in attending conferences have not been really very social science focused. So let's say it's a psychology type of conference. That might accept, they might look for conceptualization type of abstract or opinion piece type of abstract. So again, if you don't really have that much work, I would suggest you finding work, finding where you can work, who you can work with around you. You don't have to submit if you don't really have the work, because essentially you want to have that a solid work that you feel proud to submit, and you're not submitting just because you want to attend. Submit because you know that this is the work that the world needs to listen. So if there's not much work, get busy, do the good work, find what is appropriate from that work, carve it out, find a home at an appropriate conference. That would be my recommendation or suggestion.
Thank you very much, Norma, for that. I mean, before you can submit an abstract to a conference, you need to have done the research. You need to have something that you want to present. That's very, very important. And not all conferences, as Norma said, accept opinion article or opinion or commentaries. So that's why it's important for you to read the guideline to understand that. Because if you write opinion piece or you write a commentary as an abstract for a scientific conference, it is likely or is definitely going to be rejected. So you need to understand what the conference is all about. And of course, you need to have a research that you've done. Remember, as Norma said, abstract is a way for you to actually talk about what you've done. So if you've not done anything, you've not done any research, whether a review article or whether an original research that you want to share, then what do you want to present? So it is important that if you identify a conference that you're interested in, you can start doing some form of research now, or collaborate with other people to do something, especially if you don't have any research ongoing and you're interested in presenting in a conference. So you must have done a research, or you must have collaborated with some people to do a research, or on a particular topic that is related to the theme or the topic of discussion in that conference. Thank you very much, Norma, for sharing that. So I want Doreen to share insights on how do you even decide on the topic that you think is going to be beneficial to the audience of the conference. Is there anything that you think is important that one need to consider?
Yeah, there are topics that you need to consider, most specifically topics that you are working on. Remember, it is your work. So for example, you are working on HIV. I speak about HIV because I do a lot of HIV work. So you're working on something on HIV, let's say the cure, but you are not doing this from a scientific point of view, but rather from a community or advocacy point of view. So you decide that I want the science and the community to meet, and I want to submit an abstract based on the HIV cure. So what do you want to talk about the HIV cure? Because is it the strategies currently being used? Is it the funding around the HIV cure? Is it just why are we taking so long to get a HIV cure? So all of these are things that you can always get information from. AVAC and even IAS have very great insights on the HIV cure. So you can always check their pages. Their websites are very, very well articulated on matters HIV cure. And then you now submit that. If it is HIV prevention and you are a prevention champion and you now want to, let's say, talk about the new drug, lenacapavir, that is a twice yearly injectable. So what do you want to speak about, Len? Because the cost has already been reduced at this point where we are. Access is currently being pushed out. Most countries, especially even in Africa, are going to have it next year. So as from a community standpoint, what are you excited about, or rather, what are you worried about with Len that you want? There's this work I have done. There's this interest that I have in lenacapavir, and because it's for HIV prevention, I'm going to submit this at an what is it called, at a conference. So there are different conferences, and I hear you guys are speaking so much about IS, but there is the International Conference on AIDS and STIs in Africa. There is ICASA. It's going to happen next year in December. It is very African based. So probably the second largest after IAS. So it's a conference that you can also share your insights from. And especially if you're from an African countries, then you're presenting African research. Sorry, Norman, about that, but you can still, you are allowed to apply. So we also have not population-based, I'm trying to look for the word, but the academic medical people do host very, very specific HIV plus something workshops across, I think, probably 2 or 3 times a year, because next year we are having the HIV and Women workshop. They also have a conference they call Interest. Interest is very scientific. It is actually very scientific. So if you are not scientific like that, please don't apply for Interest. You will get a regret. I am telling you as a fact. So there's also the HIV adolescents. This one also incorporates SRHR. I'm missing, they also have a lot of webinars that are, again, very target population or disease-based. I don't have a better word for the disease-based part, but they do have like those ones. So they have like aging and HIV, menopause and HIV. They have one for long COVID. So there are these kind of things that you can learn from there, and also pick what are the people talking about. Because right now there is a chat about AI and HIV and how they're going to be, AI is going to be incorporated in the HIV response. So it's for you to also attend their webinars, look at the materials that have been presented before, and then look at how this is going hand in hand with your work. And then now from there, bring numbers, don't bring vibes. I recently reviewed abstracts for the first time, and there is a lot of vibes. It's not a lot. You can't come to an abstract writing, or rather an abstract submission with, so a lot of people are living with HIV. No, numbers. We want numbers. We want to see in this district, I did this research on lenacapavir. People are excited about it. At least 80% of the population want to have an injectable PrEP. They prefer it because it's very, what is it called? The English bundles are running out, but they prefer it because it's an injectable, it's better, it's easier to use, it's discreet, and all that. So you have to come with a number. You have to come with a population. You have to come with something. There has to be weight. So it's not just about looking at what people are talking about online, but you can use online numbers. I have used online numbers for an abstract, and it got accepted. Well, if you do online advocacy. So it all depends with the work that you do. the research that you've done, that means reading about this same work, what other people have done, and what you can do better. Not because you feel you can do better, but what you can do better. And I don't know whether I'm jumping too fast, but attending a conference, it's not just about the abstract submission, because I hear everybody is speaking abstract. It's not just about abstract submission. There are other things you can do at these particular conferences that can also showcase your work. You can host workshops, especially for the community conference in 2026 for AIDS 2026. You can host workshops. You can host community village activity. No, it's not called community village, global village activities. Yeah, community village is the one for ICASA. Global village activities, community village activities. You can host sessions in the said conferences. So again, that is also another way of showcasing your work, so that you don't just feel like, oh, so if I don't have an abstract or if I don't know how to write one, then I cannot attend these conferences. No, you can still get to attend the conferences based on the work that you do, because you're presenting that work as a workshop, you're presenting it at the community village. You can even decide to host a session, especially from the global village or community village side, where you're bringing the scientists to the community. And now you're having a chat one-on-one that does not have to do with all the big science names, but it's just them making you understand what this science means in normal terms. So you can still do that. So it's not, most of the time, it really has to do with the work that you do, and you must have a niche. So I believe everybody who does advocacy work, research work, scientific work, they have a niche. So if you do not have a niche, you're going to struggle. A niche is that specific thing, that my specific work is me talking about HIV stigma, and the abstract I want to submit is about HIV stigma. So get you a niche, then work around it.
Thank you very much for bringing new perspective, Doreen. I mean, it's very, very important to also understand that there are other things to do in a conference. Thank you very much for that. And also, you touch on the fact that any topic or anything that you're trying to present needs to actually be timely and needs to also be important for people to want to listen to you, to listen to what you found out, and how it's going to be useful to the scientific community or the community in general to improve the work that they do. Um, Thank you very much for that. Linda, I'm going to ask this question specifically to you. What do you think excites the people that review abstract for a conference? What excites them that if they see a particular abstract, they really want to just they see that this abstract is useful and it's going to be really, really interesting to listen to your presentation in the conference. What do you think the abstract review teams actually look out for?
Right, thank you. Excitement, as Doreen has stated, when reviewing abstracts, you feel like, I wish this person had given a second view of what they submitted. So generally, an abstract, for it to be accepted, it requires a lot that one can, I know it is manageable. People have submitted abstracts here and there, and they have been accepted. But number one item about an abstract is it being informative. Informative, I mean by it is just brief and concise. By the fact of I'm reading this one paragraph, I'm able to understand, such that it even describes your research aim or your activity based, something that you're trying to submit. And also the objectives should be understandable. And I will take you back to what Doreen said. Sometimes it is good to be specific. By here, you're describing the methods used, the results. We need exact figures. We are looking at quantitativeness. By this, we mean numbers. Sometimes, as Doreen says, you will hear people using a wash of words. A good number of young people are living with HIV in this area in Africa. But that does not really mean that abstract has to be accepted. And you will have your competitor who has come up with the numbers, a competitor who has come up citing out the exact numbers and why his or her abstract is of importance to this conference. So obviously they will leave a person who is using a wash of words for someone who has the statistics, because it gives us an implication that with these numbers, we can be able to discuss the significance or the next steps. If it is a research, what are the next steps? If it is an implementation or a social work, what betterment is needed for this to make a change? So generally, we look out for the key outcomes. If it is an implications, if it is an activity, what were the key outcomes after implementing this? If it has a research, what are the key outcomes? Was there any limitation? Some people tend to be inclusive to really write and summarize what is asked as per the instructions, while you feel some people leave out key issues. You feel like this would have been a good abstract, but there is something missing. There is something little that is missing. The analytical methods are not there. If it is a research, they are just giving a sneak peek of it, and the reviewer is like, I think there is something missing that he or she should be informing the general public, because this abstract is not for you, because you personally already know. Why you are sharing with us is to learn from you, is to learn and maybe be able to improve what we are implementing back in our areas. What governments and key stakeholders can use these abstracts to improve what they are providing. You know, abstracts can also be used as advocacy points. So in this case, if your abstract is not quite clear and fully detailed as per the number of instructions provided, you will find the reviewer leaving it out as an abstract that is not good. And another thing, if you look at some of these scientific conferences, they always, as per the guidelines, they tell you you're submitting given to the tracks or themes. You'll find I have seen people who have submitted an abstract in a wrong track or theme. So automatically that rules you out before you submit. As Doreen said, if you have a niche, understand your niche. My niche is in line with which abstract track or theme, such that you are able to submit an abstract in its right category, such that you are able to be considered in your right category. Because once you submit it in a wrong category, this reviewer will have no time for your abstract. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Linda. You've touched on a number of things. And one thing that I really want to spotlight is the fact that you need to submit your abstract to the right category. Because if they want to develop the program, they actually review some conferences, they review based on different category that they've laid out. So if they find it really difficult to actually understand what your abstract is and what is going to actually do to the conference attendee, or which under which session should they put your abstract, then that's going to create a lot of issue, and sometimes it might be rejected. And some conferences, they have specific sessions, they have specific areas. For IAS, I think they have a whole lot. And you have to be very you need to think about the best area or the best session that your abstract actually fall under. It is very important that you know, okay, if they have different teams. For instance, some conference, they will have a team or an area on epidemiology. They have another one on pathophysiology or pathogenesis. They have another one on social and community research. So you need to try as much as possible to submit to the right category, because it is helpful and it's useful to the reviewer to also to actually categorize where your abstract is going to be presented. These are just minor things that sometimes people overlook, and that's one of the reasons why you have your abstract uh, being rejected for presentation in the conference. Thank you very much, Linda, for spotlighting that. Please take notes. Think about what you've done and which section is actually the best for you to submit your abstract to. Um, I will go now into the body of an abstract. So I'm going to be starting with the scientific abstract. So I have a slide. Yeah. So I want Isaac to actually just run us through the structure of a scientific abstract. What are the key things that you need to pay close attention to when it comes to scientific abstract? So I'm going to be sharing my screen now. Isaac, can you see that? Okay, yeah. So before we go into that, before Isaac actually run us through how a scientific abstract should look like, and what are the key things that you need to pay close attention to. I also want to talk about the fact that this is not a fixed structure for any conference. It is very, very important that you read the guideline for any conference. You don't just submit your abstract because you just want to submit, or because you've written something and just want to just send it in. For some conferences, they want you to submit an unstructured abstract. Some conferences will say, okay, submit a structured abstract, and they will give you the layout. Some, instead of method, they will give it another name. Instead of results, some will call it key findings. Instead of, some conferences don't even have conclusion. They might say discussion. They are the owner of the conference. So you have to follow their guideline and follow their own definition of how they want you to structure an abstract. So the very first thing, once you have something that you want to present in a conference, read the guideline, read their own definition. Some conferences, in fact, they allow you to submit commentaries, but you won't know if you don't read the guideline. Why some, they will tell you that, okay, our scientific abstract, instead of using background, use introduction. Some will say instead of using, instead of you to use method, use method and material. So all these key, small, tiny details, they, when it comes to scientific writing, there's always guidelines somewhere for you to follow, and there's no one size fits all. You need to understand what the conference wants from you and how they want you to structure it. Like I said, we have two main types of abstract. We have structured and unstructured abstract based on the outlook. So Isaac will run us through scientific abstract and different sections and things that and the key things that you need to know regarding each of the section. And Norma too, we actually touch on that, and we'll go to project abstract as well, where Doreen will share insight on that. So Isaac.
Yeah, thank you so much, Yusuff. Yeah, I think, I mean, you have this structure here already, so people can see and then read. Yeah, but basically, I think when it comes to abstract writing, another very important thing you need to put in mind is your title, which is not here. Your title is very, very important. It is like an advertisement of your work. You know, I've been able to review abstract for a couple of conferences, and then yeah, one of the key things that may attract a reviewer to your work is your title. If you have very interesting title, you know, you've like buy the interest of the reviewer. And when it is kind of clear that when reviewing abstracts, it is somehow objective in quotes, but I would want to say that there are some sort of subjectivity by the reviewer, depending on how you tailor your work, how you write your work, how clear you follow instruction. Those could, in a way, bias the interest of the reviewer, and that may be a kind of green light for you. And so for most abstracts and most conferences, like Yusuff has said, they have the pattern they want. Some could call it background or introduction. Some could call their methods different things, depending on that particular conference you are applying to. The result could also be called the key findings. In the conclusion, you could have recommendation instead of conclusion, or you could have both. So it all depends on that particular conference that is of interest to you. And so, yeah, in the first thing you need to work on is your title. Like I said, sometimes you might have your work ready and the title may be the last thing you'll be doing. And then you need to pay clear attention to such title. And in a bid to do that, I also recommend viewers to check out the Lancet abstract guideline. The Lancet have one kind of very good abstract guideline that may be very, very helpful here. And so in the title, when it comes to science papers, in the title, you may want to communicate the kind of study design you use in your title, probably maybe a KAP study, or maybe like the name of the title, the name of your work, and then some column, a cross-sectional study, a case control study, or a cohort study, a longitudinal study, depending on what you've done. So you may want to communicate the kind of study design you use in your abstract. And then also you want to look at sometimes you may have to put in the population you are addressing. You may want to put the location where exactly that research took place. So those are the kind of things you would want to consider when looking at your abstract. I think Norman could go deep more on this. And so when you are done with your title, the next thing is looking at the background. Or before looking at the background, you also need to know the numbers of word count that is allowed for that conference. Is it 250? Is it 300? And from there, you could split those word counts across the structures, across each of the signposting. Your background could take like maybe 50 words or so, and you need to be very, very brief with whatever you are telling us. Try to go directly into the aims and objective of your study in your background. You shouldn't tell us much information about what is happening in the world on that topic. You need to streamline things. And I used to advise people when writing an abstract or when writing research generally, it is usually good to picture it like a hourglass, you know, how the hourglass is being shaped. So from your background, you have a broad discussion about what you are working on, and then streamline it to the specific thing you want to address. And for your methods, you also try as much as possible to go straight to the point when it comes to your method in terms of your study design, the setting and location you are looking at, also the kind of population, what method of data collection did you use? Is it through a survey? Is it through online survey, questionnaire, or what have you? It could also be you conducting a qualitative research, which could be through maybe focus group discussion, key informant interview, and more recently, that's one of the key things I also learned in a conference from Norman, which is the nominal group technique. You can also use that as your qualitative way of getting insight and discussion from people. So you need to be as specific as possible in this. And also, very important, how did you analyze your data? What kind of tool do you use? Is it Stata? Is it SPSS? And if it is qualitative, did you use in vivo? Did you use, or you were able to just thematically analyze your data after transcribing them? So you need to communicate all of these things in clear and concise word, And then I'm going to repeat that clear and concise word again, because also for your title, you should be able to pay very good attention to your use of grammar. You know, it can be a very big turnoff for a reviewer when they see a grammatical error from your title. That in a way has biased the way I'm going to view the whole of your abstract. Although most conferences or some conferences usually state that you should try as much as possible as a reviewer to overlook some grammatical errors from abstracts you are reviewing because of the imbalance in terms of education and region across the globe. But yeah, even with that instructions, it may really tell on how a reviewer is going to score you. Basically, for most conferences I've reviewed for, they ascribe like five marks to each signposting. For example, your background, 5 marks, your method, 5 marks, your result, 5 marks, and then your conclusion, 5 marks. So that's like 20 marks in total, right? So if you are having some grammatical error, it could like, you know, drop your score, even though the reviewer wants to like help you in one way or the other to just ignore them, but they may not like award you a full mark if you have such errors in your work. Whereas it could have you could have gotten a full mark if it is grammar-free expression of whatever you are sharing to the through your abstract. So you need to be very careful about your use of grammar. And so moving on, you go to the results section, and in the results section, people usually make some mistake here. And the mistake is you discussing your results in your results section. which is quite not scientific. In results section, you are just telling us your findings. You are reporting it to us. You are not discussing. You are not relating it to other findings. You are not looking at it in the light of other findings. You are only telling us your specific findings. And in some conferences, they also allow you to attach tables uh, because mostly your results usually have some tables, some figures. So you could also benefit from that by uploading such tables and results, tables and figures to your results section. And then lastly, which is your conclusion should be straight to the point and also have a sort of broader implication. Like you should, and that is why I said you should picture your research like an hourglass. It is broad from the beginning, narrow in the middle between the methods and results, and then broad again in your conclusion. So you need to picture it in that way. So you should be able to explain your key findings to us, and in relation to what other findings from other literature in the simplest way, and the outcome of your study, what were you able to find, what significant information should we go home with, and then the future implication of your results, like what is your result telling us? What should we do better? What recommendation can you give to us that will inform practice, that will inform intervention in your setting or in diverse setting, or that could be borrowed from your setting to other regions? So I think those are just it in a brief. Norman could elaborate more on each of this structure and maybe with an example if we have that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Isaac. I mean, that's concise and insightful. You've touched on a whole lot of things. Norma, do you have anything you want to add? Or should we run through this example just to?
I think, well, Isaac has really covered a large part of it. And I think, well, the things I have in mind, they're more nuanced, more in like into going into nuts and bolts of writing, and saying that my internet is unstable. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. Norma.
Okay, great. Sorry, it's probably my. All right. So I think we could go into those details through an exercise, for us to kind of understand each section in more details. But at the from my side, at least at the moment, large picture, big picture type of things, I think Isaac has already covered.
You want to share? That's great.
Sorry, share what?
I thought you want to use a practical example.
Oh no, I mean this example that you're showing.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Are we going to critically look at it? Is that your plan?
Yeah, you can just run through it. The key things um that this
Okay.
abstract is trying to communicate. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sure. So a background, or an introduction at times. What I usually start with or ensure that's in my introduction or background are three things: the topic, the issue, the problem, and then what the study aims to do or the solution. And usually, am I breaking?
Yeah, we can hear you, Norma.
Okay, great. Sorry. So these three things: topic, issue, and also the study aim or solution. So you can see here that the topic here would be antimicrobial resistance. And then the issue here would be that it is the maritime sector is a vector of transmission for resistant pathogens. And then this study aims to evaluate that would be your solution. The current AMR challenges in maritime environments and assess the effectiveness of implemented mitigation strategies in Southeast Asia. So three main components are there. You can see that the aim of the study is there, and what the study aims to also measure is there. I think the big picture is there. If you want to go into like those nitty-gritty nuts and bolts pieces of writing, I usually don't write my sentences very long for abstracts, just to ensure that it's easier to read. So that third sentence to me is a bit too long. So this is just not adding your own flair of writing. And if I write assess effectiveness of implementation strategies, whenever somebody says assess effectiveness, that usually would be a randomized control trial. But when I look into methods, it is a cross-sectional study. So I personally, if I were to be writing this abstract, I would not be using this term. I would perhaps to assess the implementation or the assess, or maybe you can handpick some of the outcomes, insert the outcome of what of mitigation strategies. That is also, to me, that is also vague. And in a region of high maritime activity, what does that mean, high maritime activity? AMR prevalence, that's clear. So this would be my assessment of the first part. Next part will be the methods. Methods, you would go into the WH questions. So ensuring that your who is there, your why, your what, your where is in the method. So you can see that it is a cross-sectional study conducted from January to December 2023. That's great. You can see where it's done in major international ports across Southeast Asia, including Singapore, Manila, Jakarta. Major international ports. That, to me, that is a bit vague. I personally would just write in 4 or 5 major ports, namely what. Because if you say in major international ports, you're trying to overgeneralize here. So when you're writing, try to be specific, try to be as clear as you can. Including, so the study population is great. Yeah, that's included the WHO, maritime workers, ports, health officials, shipping operators. Okay, great. Data were collected through structured interviews, surveys, reviews. Okay, so this is also another problem for me. Although the who is the how is there, it sounds like it has interviews, it has surveys. Yes, what does that mean? Review of maritime health records. So this is now contrary to what the first sentence is saying. It's cross-sectional study, but it sounds like it's a mixed method study, that there is a qualitative component and a quantitative component to this. So I would then, if I were to critically look at it, now I'm confused. What is this study about? Sorry, I've not had a chance to go through this, so I'm just like, I'm spitting out the things on the spot here. So, and the next thing, let's see, statistical analysis involves descriptive statistics and logistic regression to identify key factors associated with. Okay, this is, I guess this would be okay, but I don't understand why the interview should be in, and what that review of maritime health records are. In methods, be clear what your measures are. If you're measuring acceptability, if you're measuring prevalence, be clear, mention that in your methods. Don't be vague, because that is what you're going to report in your results. Because then when you go to the results, now we're going to the third section. Over 400 maritime workers surveyed 38 reported inadequate access to sanitation. Inadequate race, okay. Logistic regression revealed that ships with poor. Okay. So the big pieces are there. So when you write results, be sure that you're highlighting key results. You don't have to report everything, and make sure that when you report statistical analysis, the numbers are there. So I can see the odds ratio is there. The 95% confidence interval is there. You don't have to report your p-value if you already have your 95% confidence interval and an odds ratio. You can tell that it's statistically significant without p-values. If you want to add a p-value, that is fine. By the very least, the 95% confidence interval is there, and you can tell that it's significant. Okay, so then my next question would be why is that structured interview is there in the methods? Where is that in the results? Then because I would be anticipating a qualitative piece. So your thematic analysis of those interviews that you've done, which should be here. And if you add that in, this abstract will probably be very long. So then again, it goes back to what I've said earlier on. So this is like the struggle when you have like a lot that you can report on. So think about doses, how you can dose your work. So if you see that there's a structured interview, perhaps that could be a separate submission that you're looking at perspective of so and so set of people on what. And then your methods will include just the interview, and then your results would include just that thematic analysis of the interviews, the in-depth interview, or semi-structured interview, whichever it is. You have to also clarify what type of interview is that, and then your results, then your conclusion. So in your conclusion, what I typically would do is to summarize what are the key findings. Okay, I can see that the key findings are there. The future direction and recommendation is there. So the conclusion, I would say it's decent. But if I were to be grading this abstract out of 10, I personally would give it like a 5 or 6, because I'm not quite sure where things are or what is being evaluated here. So right, so that's just my perspective for now.
Yeah, thank you very much, Isaac and Norma, for this. So this abstract actually is in a way problematic, and I'm glad that you're able to point out key things that will share useful insight to um, the participants. So one thing that you always have to remember when you want to write any abstract is for you to be clear on your aims. Don't make your aims to be too broad. Don't put too many research in one abstract. If you want to submit 2 or 3 abstracts, that's fine. So your aim needs to be very, very clear, and needs to go like, you have to be so clear and straight to the point on what that research is all about. Because on based on the aim that you've set out, that's what you'll be building on in the subsequent session. And that's what Norma has already rightly pointed out, that you set out to do something, but the method or the approach that you're using doesn't really fit how you should answer that research question. So if you have a whole lot of research and you think maybe they are not so related, you can try to split it into 2 abstracts or 3 abstracts, or maybe just present one in that particular conference. And I've seen a number of abstracts where there is no aim. There's no way you want to write an abstract and you will not put a clear aim. In fact, how do you want me to understand as a reviewer what you are trying to work on? So don't just write, okay, the prevalence of AMR is this, and you leave it to the reviewer to start thinking about the aim of your research. So it is important for you to be clear on what the aim of the research is all about. What do you really want to do? Which kind of question do you want to answer? And of course, you need to use the right approach. I see a lot of people use the word effectiveness quite a lot. Effectiveness is a big word where you want to in epidemiology or in research, or you talk about the term impact. So those kind of words, we are always cautious of how to use it. And Norma has rightly pointed out that if you are talking about effectiveness, that means that maybe you've done some randomized control trial, or you've done some form of randomized trial to be able to actually assess effectiveness. And when I come to the method section, I'm saying cross-sectional study. That's problematic. So you have to be clear on what the aim of your research is all about, and make sure that you use the right approach to actually answer the research question. And when you go to the method section, you will see that you have to also be clear and build on the aim that you set out. If the aim of the research is for you to do a cross-sectional analysis to assess association between, let's say, age and risk, or age and cancer within a particular population, or you set out that you want to do a prospective study, you have to make sure that your method is actually clear on that. So how do you do that? If you set out to do a particular thing, your method needs to actually build on that. So it's like you are building on each session. Another that is also very, very important is that your results. Sometimes some people will make a claim that they want to do something in the aim. But if you look at the results session, you'll be seeing another thing entirely. So you have to try as much as possible to make sure that the aim in the background is clear, and the method is actually effective, or is useful for you to answer that aim that you set out to do. And your results session should not introduce something that you've not set out to do. If the aim is to assess something, and in the results session you are mentioning different things entirely, then we'll be wondering what's going on. And if you look at this method, in the method session, it was mentioned that a survey, an interview, or a review of maritime health record was actually done. This is conflicting in a way. So if you look at the results session, there's no report of any kind of maybe any qualitative aspect of this study. So it's mainly focused on the quantitative part. So it is very, very important that you balance things up. Different sections actually build on each other. If you set out to do a particular thing in your study, the aim is to understand the knowledge, attitude, and perception. If I get to your results session, I should not be saying something like practice. You didn't set out to do practice. So I don't need any, I should not find any result on practice in the results session. And your method needs to be adequate, needs to be the correct approach to actually answer the aim that you set out to do. And your conclusion, of course, should give us a takeaway. What is the main finding? What are the possible recommendations that you have? And like Isaac also said, Isaac mentioned the part that the title is very, very important. I mean, the title of the abstract. Uh, Sometimes some people try to be dramatic about it so that, of course, it will be interesting to the reviewer to see what's this all about. So, but try as much as possible to make the title it should fit within the scope of the conference, and at the same time, of course, it should be of interest. And I think Norma said the other time too, and Linda, the fact that it also the title also needs something that is that is timely and relevant to the conference. So if you don't touch on that, then of course your abstract is likely to be rejected. So the title needs to not to be dramatic, but of course needs to be interesting enough for them to even want to actually review or read your abstract. So an abstract is a standalone piece. That's another key thing. So if I read your abstract, I don't really want to. I want to understand the key things, the key message that you want to pass to us. That's the whole point, or that's the major reason why we write an abstract. So if you know that you have broad aims, like you have like 5 or 6 objectives, you cannot put everything in a 250 word abstract. It's always is difficult. If possible, you can try to split it into 2 or 3 and submit 3 abstracts. Some conferences actually allow that. So your aim needs to be very, very clear. Your method needs to actually be appropriate to answer the aim. And also your result needs to actually build on your aim. You need to answer the aim, the question, or the purpose of the abstract. I need to see it in your results session. And your results should not be telling us something different entirely that we didn't set out to do. And your conclusion should be one of the key takeaway and why you think your work is important and possibly future recommendation. Thank you very much, Norma and Isaac, for these insightful the insight that you shared. So we'll be going to another component, another type of abstract that is allowed in some conference, which is if you've done a project, sometimes they also want you to come and tell us what you've done. Sometimes people, they've done amazing things. You've done awareness. You've done, I mean, you've done something remarkable. And some conference actually allows you to come and present your project, what you've done. So there's a structure to that. So example of conference that actually allow that is the International AIDS conference. So the AIDS 20, I think the one that we have next year, I don't know whether they accept project abstract. Isaac, is it for the
I'm not so
for
sure.
the HIV?
I'm not so sure for the IAS conference, which is the one coming up next year. But for AIDS, I'm very sure that they accept project abstract. Yeah, I don't know if
Normal, do you?
or Doreen have some comments.
It's always there'll always be this part every year, the lessons learned and a type of submission.
Oh, okay. Okay. So if you've done a project and you want to share what you've done, maybe you've raised awareness among marginalized population or vulnerable population or something unique, something interesting, some abstract, some conferences actually allow you to submit a project abstract. So I want Doreen to just run us through what a project abstract is all about and what are the key things that the reviewer is trying to look out for.
The IAS 2025, I don't know whether it has it because I'm looking at the tracks
Hmm.
and I am not very sure because there's basic science, which is track A, there's track B, which is clinical science, there's track C, which is epidemiology and prevention science, there's track D, which is social and behavioral sciences, and then track E is implementation science, economics, systems, and synergies. So
Okay.
I am not very sure.
Very sure.
I'm
Okay.
not very sure if this is something that they look out for on this one, but the AIDS one they do. They do a lot. Yeah, so anyway, it's fine. Let's move on. So you want me to go through this?
Like let's say you've done a project and you want to possibly share insight on your project or something that you've worked on and you want to submit a project abstract.
Okay, so for this particular one, so this, but the beauty is we have ICASA 2025 coming up, so you can always submit your things there. I have lost my Zoom tab. That's why I am. Yeah, here I am. So, for project abstracts, this is more of bringing vibes and research together. So you sprinkle vibes inside there, and then the work that you have actually done. So, more of you have to have a title that makes sense before even going to the background. You have to have a title that is very specific, not too much English, not too long, just straight to the point and not too dramatic. But you can always add a sprinkle of drama. And then now you go to the background, summarizing what is the purpose of the work that you're doing, what are your objectives, what is it called? The program, the project, or the policy. And such kind of abstracts can also be used as advocacy tools to push for different things, especially I've seen some, I don't know which IAS it was, but where they ended up changing our treatment regimens because the previous regimens were becoming problematic, and so some of the abstract presentations there was a particular abstract presentation that was highlighting the side effects that the previous regimen, the TLE, was coursing on people living with HIV, and including affecting bone density, the aspect of people. I'm trying to find the English word. People used to have these nightmares, but it had an English word. Linda, what was the English word for the nightmares? Because that is what was presented in the thing. And then now the regiments were changed after that. And even for the current regiments that we have, this year's HIV and Women workshop, it also brought about the aspect of being on TLD and its side effects as well. So again, matters of bone density, because there's a actual study happening that now had to be studied on TLD. So it's also used as an advocacy tool, this particular project abstract. Now, when you go when you are now reviewing as the reviewer, you have to look out for the red flags of it and the green flags. Some of these particular project abstracts might lack clarity when you're looking at them. So, because it's very easy for you to just write big English words that are just there. And it's so easy for you to go away from the actual topic that you're trying to present. So be very careful about that. So you have to be very specific on your content and the relevance as well. So does the relevance of the conference align with what you were presenting? Or the tracks, I've just read out the tracks for IAS 2025. Do they align there so that you do not go presenting something that is on implementation science to a whole thing on let's say, clinical science. And now you end up mixing up your work just because, again, you didn't do that. You didn't stick to the content or the relevance. Again, as I said, your abstract has to be clear and very specific, and also the significance. Going back to the example I used on treatment regimens, where the people that were presenting on the effects of TLE on the people and how it was affecting the quality of life of people living with HIV, and it was about brain health and and the previous regimen that we used to have. So the relevance to that, the need to that, and the gap that it was causing. So when you present that, again, make sure that this subject aligns, this subject makes sense. This subject, when people hear you presenting it, you are also going to make sense to them. Don't overuse jargon or overly technical language as well, because technical language is nice when you are speaking to each other, but technical language can make people run away from you, or rather run away from what you're presenting. So sometimes just be simple. Sometimes we really do underestimate simplicity, but sometimes it's good to be simple as well. You need to also look at the objectives. Let them be clear and let them be measurable, let them be timely. There's something Norman said about, is this work going to be relevant in the next 6 months? And let them, again, be very specific. Ensure that they're very, very specific. You cannot fumble, literally. Also, the methods that are used, you have to be able to answer. What are the strategies? What are the approaches that are they very clearly outlined? And does the description that you've given explain how the objectives were addressed? As I said, the challenge with project-based abstracts is it's very easy for you to start just writing things. It is such an easy thing for you to do. Like, you will get away from what you were supposed to be presenting. So the results or the outcomes. So are you presenting them very well? Are they meaningful and relevant to your objectives? And for example, the outcomes, when you look at them, or the results, there might be, this is something you did, you already have results, you're presenting them. or this is an ongoing project and you are anticipating the results to come out. So do you have like maybe interim results that can be used? For example, I'm going to talk about the oral prep because we've had it for a while. The oral prep has been presented a lot in conferences, and also it goes down back to social and behavioral issues. So some people have presented research on oral prep that it's not yet finished, but they are speaking out on what is currently going on. What are the interim results? How are people taking up oral prep? How are they informed about oral prep? Are they more of leaning into the side of not taking prep and using other methods, other prevention methods that we have, or not? So your outcomes must be there, even though you do not have the finished product, or rather the finished results. You must have at least something interim that you are going to be able to put in your abstract. Also, the conclusions, or rather the next steps, or that. So if your abstract does not have actionable insights or recommendations, that is just you writing English. So does the abstract provide very actionable insights or recommendations that are going to be used in this particular presentation that you're going to give? Because remember, we have abstracts that you can do a poster presentation where you just print out the whole thing, put it somewhere. They usually have a place, and then you present as a poster. And then we have those ones that you have to do orally. So you speak in front of very many people and tell them, hey, this is my work. So you might be in a room that has people who, if your conclusions don't make sense and they're not actionable, then again, you're going to lose them. Or are your conclusions or next steps clearly stated? Because sometimes we kind of, again, struggle to reach the very end of the things that we are writing. So it's very good that when you're doing your research, you also look for a very, the English, guys, the English. You look for a very specific conclusion, or rather from your work, what would you like to come out? If it is an advocacy ask, if it is a policy change, if it is more research that needs to be done on what you're presenting, put it out very clearly. Very, very clearly. And then the language. I actually wanted to speak about language before we even started, before Isaac and Norman talked. Especially for IAS, language is very important. We now have something, especially in the HIV response, called people-centered language. So there are words you cannot use while writing abstracts. And this goes again to the scholarship applications. You need very people-centered language. You cannot use stigmatizing words. IAS has a whole guideline on people-centered language. So you have to be very, very people-centered. This can't just look like some things, some words that you know, and you just decided to put them there. Because a lack of a people-centered language can actually make your abstract to be kicked out, no matter how good it is. So be very specific. Again, on the language, use clear, simple, free of jargon language. And you can also use grammar you can also check your grammar, that ensure that your punctuation is right, your spellings are right, though most of the times, these are small things that we might overlook, but just look at them. And I know that for some people, English is not their first language, and most conferences do have this, if they even communicate this with abstract reviewers, that not everybody has English as their first language. And because most of these conferences are very English-centered, so you have to show a little bit of grace. But when it comes to errors, just reread and check again. Also, make sure that it's within your word limit. The previous presenters already said the aspect of word limits. And then also the aspect of innovation and creativity. Are you just presenting this abstract just because you have a topic, you do this work, and you want people to see it? Or does it have a little bit of innovation and new ideas and solutions? Or even if it's work that has already been presented before, but what new and fresh touch are you bringing into that abstract that you're presenting? Also, what is the unique perspective or contribution to your particular topic? Because you can just be saying things, and yes, you will probably get selected, and because it looks nice and the presentation is okay. But what is that thing that when you look at this abstract, it makes you feel like, yes, this work needs to be somewhere. This work needs to be presented. It needs to be part of the conference topic that I am attending, or it needs to be part of the ongoing work that is continuing. Let's say, for example, the HIV response or the TB response or the cancer response. What exactly are you bringing that is fresh and new? Also, you must have evidence and credibility. This is why I said it is more of a vibes-based approach, but with evidence. So what are the claims that are supporting your abstract? And what is the evidence? What is the logic reasoning? Where are the numbers? Because you can't just go and say a lot of people are living with HIV. There are so many new HIV infections. You can't say things like that because that is not evidence-based. That is you and your thoughts. Then there's the whole aspect of being authentic. Does the abstract reflect genuine experiences or insights? Because you're going to check this, especially if you review abstract. Does the work that you're presenting as a presenter have the potential to make a meaningful difference? Are there any implications with this particular work that for the community, for the advocates, for the stakeholders, for partners that are in there, for researchers and scientists? Because also researchers and scientists sometimes also get their insights from the same work that we do based on project-based abstracts. And then now this is for the people who submit things at 11:59. Please, please, this is how you end up doing things the wrong way. So just start early. You can always even just have like maybe a document on the side. You just keep filling it in because especially for IAS, it's inbuilt. So some of the conferences have inbuilt drafts that you can always just add a little bit as the deadline is approaching, or you can just write them on a nice note on your computer, and then you're going to keep bringing them up and building up your abstract until you're done. But now, again, I go back to be very clear. Don't overuse jargon. Don't come up with vague outcomes and conclusions. Do not misalign with the conference themes or the track of your particular presentation, and also avoid copying things that have already been done, because some people will just take an abstract they submitted in conference A, submit it in conference B and C and D, and that is lack of originality, because you're not coming up with new ideas, you're just replicating the same idea over and over. So again, team 11:59, please start building your abstracts early.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Norma, Isaac, and Doreen. I'll come to Linda very soon to share additional insights. We've touched on a number of things which I believe is going to be useful to our viewers. Don't start building your abstract. Don't start writing your abstract like 11:58 and expect to submit by 11:59. So try as much as possible to start early so that you can even send it out to people to help you review your abstract and give you additional insight. So another thing that I want to touch on broadly is abstract writing. The more you read abstract, the more you also learn from people's abstract, the way they write. So one thing that we also recommend, if you are submitting an abstract to a conference, try to download the abstract book of maybe the past or previous years. So download it and read sample abstract. So we learn as early career researcher, as advocates, you learn. There are a whole lot of resources for you to learn from. So download sample abstract. They are available for some conferences. Check their website. Previous for IAS, I know they upload it from like about maybe like I think within 1 month um of the conference. So you can download the abstract, read the abstract, understand what are the key things that they're looking out for, see the way people have written their own abstract in the past, and you can also learn from that. So thank you very much, everyone, and we'll be going now briefly. Also, and someone actually dashed us money, Austin. Thank you very much for dashing us some money. So I will reach out. Don't worry, I will reach out after the call to to have our own discussion. Thank you very much, Austin. Thank you very much, everyone. That have been a number of people that have been watching us for, I mean, for the past 1 hour and 30 minutes. So right now we're going to go to the scholarship part. So what do you think? I just want you to share insights so that we'll go to question and answer. We have a whole lot of questions waiting for us. What are the key things that if you are writing, if you know some conferences they have the scholarship part where you can actually receive funding to present your abstract in a conference. So what do you think is the main thing that actually define a winning essay for scholarship in a scientific conference? So what are the things that you think they are looking out for? I know a whole lot of you here, you've won quite a lot of scholarship to present or to attend scientific conference. So what are the things that you think actually make you stand out for you to receive the uh, the funding to present in a conference? And Norma, you have a number of comments. I think we'll come to that when we are rounding up, so that you can just give it as your takeaway point for the discussion. Doreen, yes, don't worry. So I'll go to Linda. What do you think is key to receiving funding, for someone to receive funding to present in a conference?
First and foremost is that some of these scholarships applications have a number of questions. Some of these applicants ask a simple question because you will discover you're applying a conference, if it is the IAS, which is about HIV, if it is in line with STIs, if it is in line with what, they will ask you, what is your affiliation, an affiliated organization, for example? If that is not all, they will even ask you, what have you previously done in the HIV response, in response to anything that aligns with that conference sometimes. So you will discover that this is where some of these applicants fumble. You discover that this person, actually, you know them in person, but then you'll be like, I wish a drastic way. Someone will answer, I will just give an example, Yusuff. This person tells you, I have been empowering my fellow young people in the community to curb up with HIV, to curb up with positive living. But you will discover that this thing is a whole pack in there. He has not told you what specific activity or what specific addition in the HIV response this person has been giving or has been doing. So some of these young questions require you to go and deep down, to be specific, to be exact, as brief as possible. Don't leave the reviewer hanging in there to be like, what is this? For example, I have been advocating for my fellow young people in the community. What kind of advocacy have you done? Have you met with the key stakeholders? Have you met with cultural leaders? Have you empowered them? You get it. So that alone gives you a bigger mileage if you are able to curb it and able to explain to the reviewer and answer those key aspects. And another key questions that some of people, where most of the people fail out is, why should you attend? It is like they're asking you, Yusuff, of all the 200 or the 2,000 applicants, why should it be you? Why should they take you to attend this conference? And that is where some people tend to fumble out, because I have an abstract to present, but show them how attending this conference will capacitate you to improve your community post-conference, how you will be able to be of benefit and also share this information with the rest of your colleagues in the society. Because we should agree that these people understand, yes, vibes are part of application, but when it comes to giving you this scholarship opportunity, they want the English. They want the language that will persuade them, that will be able to show that this is a responsible applicant. And last and foremost is that question of some scholarships will ask you about the post, that after this conference, how would you intend to disseminate? Again, that is where some people fail out to answer, because they are not specific. They tell you, I will go back and share this information with my fellow colleagues in the community or in my country. But this person has not really been specific to tell this person, or maybe I'll host an express, or maybe I'll carry on a focus group discussion at this facility or in this area where I live, such that I can share this information with the health workers, fellow young people, peer educators, and things of that sort. So these simple questions, you find this, as applicants, we have answers, but again, we are not giving the direct answers. We are giving indirect answers. That is it.
Thank you very much, Linda, for sharing that insight. Isaac, do you have anything you want to add regarding scholarship, right? Application?
Yeah, Linda has done a very good job by explaining most of the key things you need to know when writing your scholarship essays. And then away from the scholarship essays, you also need to sometimes submit some sort of recommendation letters, which is also important. Yeah, so I'll take it one after the other. For your essays, you need to know that different scholarships, different conferences have key questions they ask, but if you had to look at all those questions and give a sort of overview of the questions, they usually revolve around why they should pick you for such conferences, what will you be doing over there, and then what are you bringing to the table, sort of, and then how do you intend to utilize the lessons from the conference at your community or in your country? Like what is the impact, or what will be the impact of the conference on you? And then it is left for you to now elaborate on each of these discussion, each of this essay, to tell them who you are. So in terms of why they should pick you for a conference, it varies from individual to another. And so you may want to highlight the possibility of you sharing your expertise in what you've been doing around that subject matter in your country. Also, you could look at the abstract you intend to present in such conferences. Like you can highlight some of those things in your essay. That's all. You have also abstract that you intend to also present at that conference and share lessons from there. And then some essays will also they would like to quiz you on what you've done in the past, like in that field, what have you been doing? Like they just want to get a hold of your experience. So this is also a chance for you to talk about what you have been doing in your community, in your country, and try as much as possible to, Doreen has mentioned you giving vibes, in as much as you want to give your vibes, and inshallah, you should be also try and quantify the impact of your work in terms of the numbers of people you've been able to reach. Probably you conducted a peer-to-peer education on HIV prevention, and you reach also number of people. You should be able to state that clearly. And also, if you've developed some materials, how you say materials, you could state that. If you've conducted some campaigns, the impact of that campaign, how did you measure it? So those are key things you may want to mention when it comes to sharing your experience through those essays. And then in terms of what do you want to come and do, like why should we choose you for this conference? Personally, I usually make sure the way I structured the answer to such essay usually revolve around three major points, which is to number one, learn, and also the second thing is to share, and then thirdly, to network. So those are my three main points I usually use in those essays. You are going there to learn, learn from other presenters, the workshops, the panel discussion. You want to learn about the latest information, latest evidences in that field. You want to learn about what is working in other communities and how you can bring those information into your own community and contextualize it to your setting. So, there are a lot of things you want to learn. So you can elaborate on that. And in terms of sharing, you want to share what you've been able to do in your own setting as well. What is working in your setting? How can those information or evidence be applied to other settings? So those are another thing you want to share. So share from your experience, share your abstract findings or your research findings. So you could elaborate on those one, two. And lastly, network. You want to meet people, co-researchers, so that you can collaborate for other research work. You want to potentially meet donors. Yeah, you want to meet donors who could probably fund your project in your home country. You want to meet stakeholders that on a normal, you may not be able to access or have the opportunity of meeting them in your home country. Like you can just walk by and see the Minister of Health in that conference from your country. So you meet them, talk to them, get their contact, and follow up afterwards. And also you also want to network with maybe researchers that you admire their work, people that you've been reading their work and it usually interests you. So it gives you the opportunity to, meet them and all of those things. And for some of us that are into book in a way and academia, it is also a platform for you to meet potential future supervisors for your master's, for your PhD. So you can, throw a bit of all of this into your essay, and this will show to the reviewer that no, this person actually have something to gain out of this conference. Because on a norms, when you look at these conferences, it is not just about people coming to share information and all of those things. They're also looking at how this conference can be of impact to your life, to your career, to your growth, and all of those things. So those are the kind of things you want to put in your essay. And lastly, Linda has shared, some conferences will also ask you, how do you hope to translate your knowledge in your community, right? So you can use diverse method, and in your essay you can state that, oh, you intend to if I were to be an influencer like Doreen, I'll just put it in my essay that, oh, I will be posting on my social media with billions of followers and all of those things, adding number to it as well. It could be you sharing, best practices or the informations you are learning from at that conference on a blog post with your organization. It could be you having a step down training in your organization for your team members, for your co-workers, like having a step down training on what you've learned that is applicable to your organization and how you can utilize it on your day-to-day work. So those are the kind of things you put all together in your essay to make it tangible enough to secure a scholarship for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Isaac. I think you've covered quite a whole lot of things. So let's just go to question and answers now for people to ask their question, or if there's anything that they want us to touch on, then I will come back to the speakers to give us an overview of the discussion and key things that they also want to add. So we have a question here on: is it everyone whose abstract is accepted, that is offered traveled scholarship? Is it everyone? Doreen, you want to talk on that?
No, it's not everyone. Your abstract might be accepted, but either you end up being given like maybe an e-poster, or they just give you like a partial scholarship that maybe it's just for registration purposes only. So, and also now since COVID, we've had a rise in hybrid conferences. So nowadays there's both the virtual attendance and the physical attendance. So you might end up being just a virtual attendant, or rather getting a virtual scholarship. So it's not 100% guaranteed, because last year alone we reviewed 11,000 scholarships. And the people who got scholarships were, I think, 200 and something. So you see that number, it means that you have to step up. Like, you have to really, really bring your A game when applying for scholarships. So it's not everyone, unfortunately.
Thank you very much, Doreen. So can you just give us maybe two things that you notice in people's scholarship application that most of the time is responsible for the rejection?
One is not being able to bring back the information home. Remember, you are not just attending that conference as you are a representative of a population, a community. For example, let's say a community of people living with HIV. If you break it down further, for communities of adolescent girls and young women living with HIV. So if you are applying and you're saying, I want to come and learn and grow and network, those things won't suffice on a scholarship application, because what value are you bringing to, let's say, the AIDS conference, and what value are you taking from them back to your community? So these are things such as, it can be as simple as just a Twitter thread of what you learned, and it can be a Twitter thread of what you learned at the conference. It can be a LinkedIn post about this is what you did. You can host a virtual space with the people in your community, let's say the young people who didn't go to the conference, and then bring them together and tell them, this is what we learned. This is the new things on the block. This is the new science. But now, most people base their applications on I will not, my community will benefit with this. My community will, so especially the takeaway back home, that is where most people fail. And then a lot of people kind of, and I'm basing this on people living with HIV, kind of think that just because you are living with HIV, that is enough to be selected and be given a scholarship. It does not work like that, because there are non-HIV positive people who are also applying. We have journalists applying, we have medics applying, we have researchers applying. So why are you special to be given that particular scholarship? So as you apply for your abstract, you can also say, I've submitted an abstract in ABCD, or let's just say you've been given a speaker position and you are going to speak at the conference and you've not been funded. So you also, on your scholarship application, you say, I am going to be speaking on ABCD, so that they know you're bringing value. You're not just coming there and getting a flight and accommodation, and now they're like, yes, we are glad to have you on the table. No, you must be bringing something to the table. Otherwise, it does not make sense for them to give you that. But the one thing that makes a lot of people not get the scholarships is what they will do to their community, because that is a question that a lot of people fumble when answering, and it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with the community.
Thank you very much for that, Doreen. That's highly insightful. Let's go to another question. Someone is asking, like, hello, if I have an idea, can I write an abstract before developing the research proposal and submit it for presentation in a conference? Do you have anyone I want to touch on that? Uh, can I write an
Sorry,
abstract before developing the research proposal and submit it for a presentation in a conference?
to submit an abstract before an idea was being proposed? Was that the
Yeah,
question?
before developing the research proposal and submit it for a presentation in a conference.
No, because the work needs to be done. If it's not done, then what needs to be presented then?
Eugene, can you try to maybe give more clarification? Uh, if you are asking that there's no need for you to have published the work that you are presenting in a conference in a journal, but of course you must have done the research. You must have something that you want to present. That means that you have the idea. You've maybe got an ethical approval for you to actually do the study, and you have something that you want to share. So, but if you want to give more clarification on the question that you're trying to uh, seek clarification on, so we have another question here. I think Amara, yeah, we've answered your question. Thank you very much. Uh, Rama, sorry. Uh, we have another question. Hello, Norma. Can you kindly shed more light on the nominal group technique for qualitative data collection? Thank you.
Well, in this I don't know how I'm going to explain that in like a few minutes. So a nominal group technique is a unique qualitative way to gain insight from people, particularly when you want to understand what are the key things you want to do at the moment. So that means that you want to make a decision, a group-based decision out of that discussion that you're making, as opposed to a usual focus group discussion. So when you have a focus group discussion, there is a moderator and somebody just drops a question, just like what we're having right now. This is sort of like a focus group discussion. But a nominal group technique is is almost like that. But at the end of the day, um, everybody gets to voice out their own opinion. Everybody gets time to write down their answers and as individuals, and then post it up on a sort of like a flip chart. Everybody sees it, and at the end of that discussion, everybody gets to vote which ones would be sort of let's say that the question is, what is the current need for what is the best or what is the top three, let's say, delivery of prep that is specific to Malaysia? Maybe so there are so many different regimens, right? And then as a group, you vote on which one would be number one, number two, number three, and then you report that. So as a group, the group feels that the top of the need is, let's say, on-demand prep. Um, or perhaps, and then number two would be cabotegravir or long-acting PrEP, for example. And then number three is what? So at the end of the day, a nominal group technique is really essentially a decision-making type of qualitative method that folks employ. And it's rather new for in the field too. So if you'd like to employ that in your study, feel free to do that. Because we've been having a lot of fun doing that.
Thank you very much, Norma. Is it available online for like? Is it well like
Yes,
this
so
method
you
well
can
used?
yes, so you can look up so it's called nominal group technique. Um, if you're looking for specific training, there's this training called NIATIX, NIA, capitalized. T is also capitalized, but the X is small letter. Um, So it's developed by University of Wisconsin, if I'm not mistaken. But we've done that training across different groups of people in Ukraine, in Malaysia as well. Um, Specifically looking at community needs. Um, so yeah, they're training out there. The clear instructions on what to do in an NGT. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. So another question. Thank you to all the speakers. The session was insightful and informative. My question is for someone who has research interest but don't know how to start. Any recommendation or courses? Well, there are a whole lot of videos on this channel and that will be useful to any career researcher. So if you have not subscribed, kindly subscribe. Uh, Identifying research interests actually comes with time, based on experience. So, but what I will recommend is for you to have broad training in your area of interest, or just even understand what research is all about. And there are a whole lot of courses that are available on introductory aspect of research. So, because sometimes research methodology or approach in research is sometimes field specific. For instance, there's a method that's actually unique to epidemiology. You cannot use that method in health or social science. So, but what you can start with is to strengthen your knowledge or your foundation when it comes to research or basics of research. And a whole lot of courses. And in fact, I have a video on this channel that actually detail different courses that are available. So, identifying research interests to me and based on my experience actually comes with time and actually comes with the fact that you understand what you really want to do. For some people, from the beginning, they know that they are interested in cancer or HIV research or public health related research. So, but with time, you get to know. The more you get yourself familiarized with the feed, the more you tend to have new interest, and interest actually evolves with time. So just be dynamic, be open minded, and continue to refine your skills. Read papers uh, from from your feed, from journals related to your feed of interest. So interest as early career researcher tend to evolve with time. So just try to continue to build yourself and continue to open yourself up to different learning opportunity as much as you can, because clarity actually comes with time when it comes to research too. So just continue to evolve and try as much as possible to strengthen the basics. Take courses. There are free online courses. If you check videos on the channel, you see some courses that I made video on, and the popular one is the author aid course. It is annual, so you can take the author aid course to introduce you to what research is all about. Then, if you have a specific interest, or if you don't even know your interest, you're interested in a whole lot of things in, let's say, public health. Public health is broad. So, what are you interested in? Just try to be open minded to different things and continue to explore. So, but with time, clarity is going to come. But if you have a specific field in mind, identify top researchers that are doing research in that area, that are doing amazing things in that area. Follow their research, follow them on social media. Uh, Try as much as possible to get yourself familiarized with the field that you're interested in. So it's a whole lot of things, and I think that's a discussion for another time. But I hope that is useful um, for you. Um, So thank you to all the incredible speakers for delivering such an informative session and for sharing their valuable insight. So thank you very much, Doreen. Thank you very much, Isaac. Thank you very much, Linda. Thank you very much, Norma, for sharing your insights. I've learned a whole lot, and I know that all our listeners they've learned one or two things because that's what is important. Pick one or two things from different people and continue to learn, continue to grow, continue to improve your skills. So to wrap this all, up, so I will just give each speaker an opportunity to just sum the discussion up and the takeaway and the key things that you need to uh, uh, actually pick from this discussion. So thank you, Wura, for thanking us, and thank you very much, everyone, for joining, and thank you, Austin, for dashing us money. uh, uh, Thank you very much. Welcome, Benjamin. Um, Uh, I think Oji is trying to ask that the spelling. So I think probably you can link up with Norma after the discussion. Is available on LinkedIn, I think. Um, yeah. So um, let's go to Isaac. Isaac, can you just sum up what is the key takeaway and what do you think our participants, our listeners, what are the key things that you think they should pick from this discussion?
Yeah, so basically the speakers have been having their own chats like on the Zoom too. So and then I think our key takeaway is actually surrounding people actually putting in the work in terms of in their community, putting in the work to the research they are doing. There are a lot of half-baked work and research on different platforms these days. A lot of people submitting half-baked research for conferences. So one of the key things to doing things well is learning that thing very well. One of the key things to writing well is actually reading well. So putting that work, putting that effort to master the skills of research, conducting research and writing research, right? They are two different things. So you need to master those skills. And also in terms of you getting scholarship, try to put in effort into those community work you are doing. Nothing is too small really, but then put that effort, know that you are putting excellence into the work you are doing in your community. Put in the work, and if you are putting in the work, it will be easy for you to tell your story. But if you are not, and then you want to maybe fabricate lies or tell stories that are not true, that would be a bit difficult. That could have a very big repercussion on your career. And then you don't know who is reviewing your work. Sometimes I've seen reviewers who review people's work and they actually know those they are reviewing their work. And then they could say that some of these people are telling things that are untrue in their application, right? So it is at the discretion of the reviewer to judge whatever thing they will give to that person. But then just know that you don't know who is reviewing your work. You can't tell who that can be. So try as much as possible to say things that are true and giving real information about yourself and put in that work, and your story will be interesting to listen to. So yeah, I think I'll just leave the rest to my co-speakers.
Thank you very much, Isaac, for that. I mean, that's very, very important. Doreen, any last word?
Yeah. Okay. Last words from me would be bring good quality. Understand that rejections happen even when you've brought your best work. You try again. Conferences happen every year, so you just try every year. Another thing is learn from the material that has been shared on the previous conferences, on the work that you want to do, and try to apply it in your own work, in your own abstract submission, and even conference scholarship applications. And yeah, sometimes 11:59 does help. So if you're an 11:59 p.m. warrior, good luck to all of us. That's it from me.
Thank you very much for that. Linda?
Thank you so much.
Think
All I can tell them is that give me, it's the end of me. In case you are declined, there is always another option. As Doreen says, conferences happen every year. Always look out for the next option. Maybe it was not your year. Maybe that year was highly competitive, or maybe that year was not their arithmetic area that they were focusing on. So you can always submit another time, and also be open to sharing the work in the right order of it. Do not fabricate information or do not fabricate what you're submitting, because sometimes some of these reviewers may know maybe from your own country, but they will be like, oh, what Linda is speaking about, I've not seen him do this. This is a lie. So that should always be your focus area, that what I'm submitting is truly mine and solely mine. And also position yourself into with a niche. Don't be everywhere. If you have a niche, it will help you to be a pro when it comes to that aspect. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Linda, for that. I mean, don't fabricate anything. Present the whole point of presenting an abstract is to share your work, what you've done. So it's not about you fabricating results because you want to present. So if you are presenting an original research or a review, make sure that it is your work and you've done it, and you want to share the findings with the scientific audience or with the attendees in that particular conference. It's very, very important. Thank you very much for that, Linda. Norma, do you have anything to sum this discussion up?
I was just thinking about what are the other things that we might have missed out on talking, and I realized we've not talked about AI,
Mm.
um, and and how that influences writing and a lot of the applications. Um, I, I, I I think we need to be cautious around the use of AI in the way we write our abstract and also the application too. We are much smarter now. We can detect even without an AI detector. I've seen applications and I know that it was ChatGPT generated, um, because the words are just like underscored or like yeah, like all this GPT words. But anyway, as a conclusion, I think um I've talked about how we are all on a different spectrum of work, from one end to the other end. Now, wherever you are or wherever you identify on that spectrum, I encourage everybody to know your substance, and know your unique selling points, and work on them, continue that good work, um, and develop more, know more people, work more, towards what you want to see yourself or where you think you'd like to go, um, and celebrate small steps really, because that's how I got into the field. I I knocked on many doors, doors that were open, doors that were closed, doors that were left half open, half closed. You don't know what's going on with the door. Sometimes there are no doors at all. I don't know why I'm talking about doors now, but essentially, there's just so many opportunities out there, um, and and you'll find a home for yourself, and your work. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Norma. Thank you very much to all the speakers. I mean, they've shared quite a whole lot of things, and people are so thankful. Thank you to all the speakers for this amazing session. What you guys, all the speakers, are doing gives me more motivation and enthusiasm to work towards my academic goals. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And thank you to all our speakers for sharing your insight. And um, thank you. That's just it. And please, if you have any question, and probably you can just drop it in the chat, I mean in the comments session. If you are watching this video in the future, hopefully I'm going to see the comment section uh and attend to your questions. So abstract writing is an art, so just continue to practice, continue to read other people's abstract, continue to, I mean, the way you learn how to do things, as personally from my own experience, is the more you expose yourself to doing it. I remember when I started my research journey, I would just do small research, review articles, and get them submitted for presentation in a conference. But of course, sometimes they're going to be rejected. Sometimes you have acceptance. So it's just about you. Uh, you have that dedication to continue to refine your skills. There are a whole lot of resources that are available to do that. Please, read abstracts, read other people's work, and learn from them, learn from the way people write, especially scientists in your area or your field of interest. And of course, identify conferences. Don't just keep your work between you and your community. Share it with other people. Look for opportunities to present them in scientific conference or your advocacy work. You can also present them as an abstract in a conference. So just continue to refine your skill, continue to learn, continue to unlearn. And if you are submitting an abstract to a conference, our speakers, the writers said that just get a sample abstract that has been presented in that conference before, look at it, look through it, and continue to learn. So it's about repetition. The more you do all these things, the more you actually get better. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching, and thank you to all our speakers, Isaac, Norma, Doreen, Linda, and myself for doing this. Thank you very much. I think we can end the call. Thank you. Thank you. Right. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Benson, are we offline?
Yeah, not yet. Okay, let me. Yeah.
I'm seeing custom live service.